say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to put you in a box and put you on meds and you're going to be okay.
No,
As opposed to trying to work to try to see where the issue is, because this child may not necessarily even have to go on medication.
The things that we were dealing with, for example, when we were going to school, totally different.
Totally different.
To me, a very interesting aspect that the two of you mentioned was the technology part, the social media. And it's funny that you guys are saying that you wish that you hadn't gotten in there, and now we have a generation that was born
into
online.
They started at 2 years old.
We were actually just talking about this like yesterday. Like at least our generation of like 02 to 05 grew up, or at least from when we were born to 10, at least not in an age of technology where we went outside, played, went to school, maybe watched TV, and if you were lucky enough, played sport. We played a lot of sports, and if you're lucky enough to have like an Xbox at that time, you played that, and then you went to bed. But now children are going to school in elementary school with iPhones, on TikTok, they're on Instagram, and I feel like they're at a too early of an age to be digesting certain things. And even though if you put parental controls on everything,
they're gonna get
around it. And two, the internet is such a place where things will still reach them. Like if you want to find something, it will be found. Or if it wants to find you, it will find you.
Yeah. Now, here we have Trish. Trish, by the way, is a teacher.
Is a teacher.
But I think she might be a principal.
No, she's a principal. One of those. She's higher up. And she says even teachers fear middle schoolers. We have
because Trish is saying middle school is the worst in the US. Those kids will humble you.
Absolutely.
So this is now substitutes cry.
Yeah.
No, the middle school horror stories that occurred in those classrooms, like mind you, we're in college now, and the things we experience in college and high school can't even compare to middle school.
That's where a lot of I feel like that's where a lot of people's
part where parents
begin.
should be
lock in immediately.
No, I think it starts from like that 4th grade. Start then.
Because actually nowadays you're right.
Yeah, start from 4th grade because once you start when the issue begins, it's too late.
Yeah.
Because it's already started.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying like you should start building your relationship with your child before then, so that they can and have that open dialogue with them. Like at least communicate with them. To a point where they feel like if they come to you with an issue, they're not going to get beat or they're going to get yelled at.
They feel safe.
They feel safe.
It's a safe space and there's a communication channel.
Also, if you don't understand what they're talking about, because obviously your middle school, well, it's not called middle school. What is it called? It's like
primary school.
Primary is the equivalent of elementary and middle all put together.
Yes.
So even if you don't understand, right, the comparison of the experiences, just try to meet it halfway. Just try. Just be like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but I feel for you, and what can we do to solve this? Who can I talk to? How do you feel? Because that is the one thing right away. Kids don't need to hear, why are you complaining? Me, I had to fetch water. We don't need to hear that. We don't need to hear that.
The comparison of life stories of like, oh, at your age, this is what I was doing. Everybody has a different struggle. It's like, okay, you grew up here. Those are your struggles, but we're here. These are our struggles, and this is how we feel.
Our struggles are going to be different because it's, first of all, 2 different eras, 2 different countries. It's just different time periods in general. But on top of that, I don't know, just taking somebody's struggle just because it's I guess you can say incomparable to yours is not fair. And I think that's something that a lot of African parents just struggle with so badly. It's bullying. Okay, bullying was not the major problem for you when you were 14. But it is for me now. So please help me.
Now, this is Gen Z talking.
Wow.
Now, a lot of these things that they're saying, those who came before them knew about them, but they never felt comfortable talking about them because they felt that, society is going to look at me some type of way if I bring this out. So they would just keep quiet. Because I think there's a whole generation of African kids who are experiencing this, especially that middle school part. And a lot of parents just have no, understanding. Like you guys are talking to me right now. I came to the US in college, so I definitely don't have an understanding, but I used to think, because I have family members who are in middle school, I used to think I have an understanding, but just from what you guys are saying, it seems, and it's kind of like this is just the surface. It seems like
is.
there's a lot of deeper issues
Correct.
that are happening and that
Yeah.
are going on with children at that age.
And also like what Rehema was saying, she wanted to talk
yeah.
or bring it up, maybe to the parents, but she couldn't. So her refuge, or what she sought out, was somebody going through the same experience.
Trauma bond.
Trauma
Wow.
bonding.
So,
Or like,
that's like
Wow.
the African kids.
yeah.
Oh, most of the friends I have to this day are friends I made in middle school because of that. Like
Trauma bond.
trauma bond.
Okay,
literally.
the same trauma y'all
We'd get,
went
we'd
through.
get cornered in the locker room, get picked on, and then we'd be like, "Hey, like that sucked, right? Let's be friends."
Yeah.
Like I'll be real,
The
that's
blind
kind of
leading
how
the
it was.
blind.
Yeah.
Wow. This
Literally.
is, I mean,
So your therapist was your fellow classmate.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we just talked. We used to always like consult about it. We talk about it, and like
And so did you guys band together, like almost like form like I guess a defensive shield, almost like an army, and kind of like hold each other, kind of like, you know what I'm saying?
I feel
You'd
like
be like the African kids who are like, it's like
Don't
us,
play with them.
us against the world, so to speak.
it's like
No, it was just like a place, more like a place of refuge, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, how was y'all day? Like, this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
How are y'all
we
doing?
do like a little recap.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so
Wow.
and so did this to you today. Dang, this happened to
Dang,
me.
that's crazy.
And then let me move on.
yeah.
So did you guys see any of your African friends get so affected to the point that they either got medicated, changed schools, or even took their lives?
Okay.
I-
Go ahead.
I will say that no, not to that point, but I feel like a lot of them didn't deal with their trauma up until like our age.
Yeah.
Like they didn't start reflecting on like, why am I the way I am today? And then they start looking at their past experiences like, oh, this is when it really started. And a lot of like, you now see like a lot of us Gen Z, once we get to college, a lot of us have like anxiety, depression, I think one thing that does go unnoticed is ADHD and ADD.
Oh.
African parents do not believe that their child has ADHD, and that because they feel as if it's a bad disability to have.
Yeah.
But it is something that happens in the school system that makes it really bad for their child to like understand what's going on. And it actually happened to me because I didn't realize I had ADHD until I got to college. When I took my first exam and I was like, I can't focus. And that's when I had to go work with ADS as well. And at least with my parents, I could go to my mom, was like, because they are both in the health profession, I was like, this is what's going on. And they helped me. But a lot of children also don't feel as if they can go and talk to their parents because they never have been able to talk to their parents.
So there's issues of ADHD, and there's also mental health issues that come up, which are very new things to African
To
parents.
African parents,
households.
yes. And then the other thing that, for us at the African parental level, and I'll say that to differentiate, is that when, the administrators approach you about your child and your child's behavior and certain things, then, you're always going to go on defense. But there's also the, how do I say it? There's the administrators seem to want to put your kids on meds more than they're actually working to resolve issues, and so they already put them in a box and say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to put you in a box and put you on meds and you're going to be okay.
No, I
as
get
opposed to trying to work to try to see where the issue is, because this child may not necessarily even have to go on medication, but because of the trauma that you guys are saying you're going through, it puts you in a certain space, and the signs seem to point towards the child having a mental issue, but it may not be that. It could just be plain outright bullying. That's, put this child in a defensive mode where they're not letting anybody in.
Wow, this is quite
It's eye opening.
It's quite
because even
eye-opening.
for me, being an uncle, in as much as I thought,
you are close to them.
yeah, like we can talk. The part for boy, here we go.
No, I'll get into it. You go ahead.
Oh Lord, here we go. Not knowing, because the reinforcement. So I always go back. So I try to do that with like a Kenyan Jerry and Nemo. I really try to reinforce, that part of just being proud.
We already have the experience with the mistakes.
So that. But now, because of the revelations today, I'm even now going to enforce it even more, like dictatorially.
And that's a good thing about
Yeah.
having
Oh,
conversations
I'm not
on
gonna
such
lie
a
to
space.
this.
No, not dictatorially, Mika.
Mika.
Relax.
Yeah. So Mika,
Go ahead,
Mika,
Mika.
go ahead.
So, relax. Anyway, what I was saying was, I know I understand the fact that you're saying you're going to emphasize this and do it dictatorially, but then again, one thing you also have to be sure and to be careful of, and I think Rehema and a friend can help me here, is that when we also ever emphasize on things, we make them scared in coming and communicating with us. We also have to be able to sit back and get to know how to read our kids, how something changed. One thing we as parents don't notice or don't want to realize, and it happened to me, is like all of a sudden I realized my kid was, that was when she was between 16, 17, went silent. She became timid and her performance in school dropped. And one of the things I started doing was talking to her, getting to know more, and I realized, you know what, this kid has traumas that she's not talking to me about, and I had to take her to therapy. And in therapy, she opened up to the therapist about things that were happening in school that she hadn't spoken to me or anybody else, by the mere fear that sometimes you try to tell them, like, you know, who you remember where you're from, remember who you are, remember, be proud of yourself, be this, and there's that fear of them feeling scared of disappointing or something like that. So also us as parents, we have to put it onto ourselves to learn how to read our kids and how to know when something is different with them, and understand that as much as we assume they are young, they don't face any issues in the world. They have issues that they face within their age bracket that is traumatic to them and gives them trauma.